Well, each week it seems like one district is the highlight. We started with the marquee matchups in 32-6A. Let's go to 30 now, out a little bit further west. The big game might surprise you because McAllen and McAllen Memorial are tied in the loss column. They're both undefeated. But I see Palmview and Rowe as the big game of the week.
Oh, yeah, because one of those, if not both teams, are going to be 3 and 4 in that district. Rowe has been on a very long slide. They beat Waters Lincoln.
But they played the tough teams. They played them sister schools, and they got walloped pretty good. But now they got 3 winnable games in a row. They can still make the playoffs. They can still finish third.
Yeah, and you want to win. You want to beat Palmview. Well, look, you want to beat them. That's obvious. But you want to beat them because you're trying not to play United. And United lost, but
No, United won. Alexander lost. That's right. United 45-0 over Del Rio.
Yeah, and what you're trying to do is just stay away from certain.
Right. So third and fourth actually means something. This year it's weird over there in Laredo because United had that really tough schedule, but they're coming on. Alexander played well at the beginning, but they got beat by LBJ.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? By a touchdown. I kept looking at other places to see if that was a mistake. How could LBJ have beaten Alexander? Good gracious. Anyway, okay, so we're getting ahead of the playoffs, but that's because, we've been waiting all year for the playoffs. Everybody likes a goodbye district. Let's talk about Palmview and Rowe a little bit because Palmview right now, 5 years as a club, they've never made it. They're 16-34. I counted up their record. They've been close a few times with Famat and those cats, yeah. But this is a really legitimate chance for that team to put its stamp on the season and make some history. They win this game and they're cool, man. I really feel like that.
Yeah, look.
They better because they got Memorial and McAllen coming up.
Yeah, you got to win this game because you don't want to worry, that I have to pull the upset somewhere along the way.
Right.
This is a great game for them. Rowe has struggled against the top tier teams
in the
district, but. Granted, saying that they play McAllen and McAllen Memorial, two very tough teams.
Now, 121 points they allowed, but let's face it, Hover's got it going on pretty good, throwing touchdown passes to Ricky Rodriguez and others. And of course, the kid, as we're going to talk about in overtime, some of the runs he made against Lincoln have defied reality. I mean, he's starting to show that tackle breaking ability. We're saying, well, he's not that powerful. Man,
he's pretty powerful.
Watch those video highlights. It's amazing.
As a junior, he's a grown man when you see him. He just came back from Arizona too, so we'll have pictures.
He was in the desert, yes, having a meditative experience with a guru. No, I'm kidding.
But look, there's a reason why all these schools want him.
Yeah.
Because he shows something special when he's out on the field.
Yeah, he does. Okay, so McAllen and Memorial. McAllen plays who this week? They got Lincoln. That's probably going to be a win. Memorial is off. Boy, what a nice time to have an off week. You get to go watch the Lincoln game. You got to watch 2 weeks of films. You got the scout team running what they do. Memorial's going to be rested. And right now, man, I'm not so sure McAllen can slow down Memorial. Are you?
Look, the running game wise, I think that Memorial has it going. I mean, and Ricky Rodriguez is
two of the best backs in the region.
Yeah, but when with Trevor Spates there, you key on him, and it opens up a whole smorgasbord of other options.
Will Moore is one of those guys. He's a skinny-looking cat, but he'll put his nose in the pile. I'm always impressed with him. I can't remember if he's 30 or 40, but both 30 and 40 run all right for them. So does the kid inside. The kid being 28, Villarreal. Now, if Memorial continues to get the passing game, hey, DJ's coming on. You notice that? That could be the wild card that puts them over the top. Because let's say that McAllen's able to stop the running game to an extent. If Fabian keeps throwing the ball to DJ and others, man, that's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if Fabian can play like he's been playing, if they can work the play action with with their big receivers, man, I mean, they'll be really tough to stop.
That game's not until October 24th, but I will add one more footnote. If Freddie Hover continues to play like he's been playing, 191 yards and 3 touchdowns passing, then McAllen's got a pretty good chance.
And that's the one thing that Mac High has that Memorial doesn't. Mm-hmm. They can put Fred into situations where he can run, he can pass. They can bootleg him out, let him decide off of that. I like Fred Hover and I like Mac High. I just like Memorial's offense better.
Well, the kid is a magic man, and sometimes that's the difference. We're going to wait and see. McAllen's got to get past that La Jolla school, Lincoln first. Memorial gets the off week. The only thing you worry about during the bye is that you lose a little focus and you don't get to play on Friday night.
Yeah.
You just tell them, wait till next Friday, friend. You're going to get all the football you want. Okay, now, so La Jolla and Mission facing off. If either one of those teams wants to make a run here with 4 games to go, the time is now.
Yeah.
Thursday game.
It's a very lackluster game, except for if you're part of those teams.
Yeah. Or their fans, or the band parents.
But La Jolla played so well at the beginning of the year. I'm not saying everything came to fruition now, but it's reality's kind of set in.
La Jolla versus Rivetta in the scared the hell out of them bowl.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do at the end of the season. And who knows, maybe one of those teams will charge up and make it. Well, let's go to 31 here in the middle. Talk about a logjam, Jake. You got 4 teams at 2-1.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying there's a lot of parity.
But there's a lot of parity.
There's a lot of parity.
Yeah.
PSA North, we thought they were going to beat PSA Memorial, and PSA Memorial, what Coach Cavazos has done over there has been special. I mean, what can you say? He lost so many players. He's lost a couple this week too. He's lost a lot of players, and they're tied for the district.
He didn't lose Michael Gonzalez because that kid came off the injury list, and he played a pretty gutty game, didn't he? Yeah. 146. It wasn't so much that his numbers were great. It was that the dude showed a lot of guts to go in there and play the game when he was still hurt. So I appreciate the effort he made. We should have figured that the Raiders were going to lose, right? Because once you get to be the buzz team or the it team, man, the rug comes out from under you fast. So now PSA North got to regroup, and who they got this week to do it against?
No, excuse me. I said Edinburgh North. I'm sorry. Boy, they've got...
who does PSA North... Oh, they play Economedia. Okay, so if PSA North has a Jag team that could not stop Lupe Marone, and let me tell you what, that's not the only team that can have to say that.
Yeah. Very hard matchup. 6 foot, running back that can burn, 4-5.
He's amazing,
Real 4-5 speed, as Coach Burgett told you.
Yeah, and the thing is, the guy gets to the edge in a hurry, man. I mean, he's not a plotter. He's a sprinter of sorts. I mean, I feel like, and we're going to talk about this later on, overtime, I feel like Lupe Marone is starting to distance himself from all the other backs in the valley, not number 21 from Memorial.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're rising like the cream to the top, man.
Yeah, and I like PSA North's chances in this game because Economies, they've lost some players from what I'm hearing. So, I'm not sure about PSA North if they lost anybody. But this is that time of the year also where grades come into effect. Not just injuries, grades. Report cards came out. Last week was the last real week that they could play up to Thursday, I think.
Attrition will always rob you of a couple of guys, and that's why you want the most solid program you can have so that you keep them kids in line and get them tutors and study hall, whatever they do these days, because you can't afford to lose a top-line player. Some teams, that's the margin of error right there.
Yeah. And
Raiders will bounce back, but Economedias had 424 yards against East, so they really got the ground game going.
They put it together in the second half.
Hey, you score 48 points and lose. You have to ask yourself, what is this, man? That's crazy. That won't happen again. I think they'll be competitive against the Raiders, but I don't know if the Raiders will lose 2 in a row.
Yeah, I don't know either. Now, I like PSA Memorial this week, though. I think PSA Memorial...
the kiss of death. No, this guy's been on the bandwagon of the Wolverines, and you know what? They came through that big last week.
The PSA Memorial's playing EHS.
Kevin Spears.
They're gonna go to 3-1, and it's I'm not saying they're overlooking EHS, but when you play, when you look at your schedule, there's always a couple games.
He's circling again. He's circling EHS all year. It's great. He probably wants to get a job at Valley View or something.
Yeah. But look, EHS is their defense is really good.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job against North.
Yeah, and their line is just a little smaller than what they'd like. If they could do a little bit more, if they could hold a couple or hold, but if they could stop the rush a little bit longer.
Yeah, they've had offensive line woes for a couple of years now, and some of those kids show potential, but they just. They still have, I think they're averaging 141 yards on offense, and that's not enough. Now, they did play well against Edinburgh North, you have to admit, in the third quarter. And I knew this was going to be the case. 17-14, Edinburgh High was right there. Angel Latta with a pick 6, 42 yards. Then they had some troubles down the stretch, and North asserted itself and got the win. But in that game, man, it's anything goes. That's a rivalry that goes back to 1991, and there's always some fierce competition.
And that's one of those things, too. You can't really look at those games as measuring sticks because it's all emotion.
It's a special animal, that's right. And EHS had it going that third quarter, man. Their student section was going nuts, and North was going, what the heck, But they righted themselves. Whiteside had 100. The sophomores play well for Edinburgh North. Before we talk about them in Weslaco, I want to go back to the CHS PSJ Memorial game. Because it's the brothers Garza, right?
Yeah.
MJ and Brian coaching at PSJ Memorial. Little brother Jacob is playing ball and doing a great job, by the way, for Edinburgh High. So they're my neighbors, too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So great family, big football fans, a bunch of players. MJ was MVP. Brian was a great player. They used to call him Sugar Bear. Remember that guy? Light on his feet for a big kid. So they'll all be on the same field. And boy, don't you know they want to beat each other.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. If PSJ Memorial wins, they move to 3-1, one win away from making the playoffs.
And they'll either happen against at home, or they're going to come back to Cats and play another team. So they're going to play Economedes, I think.
Yeah.
So they've got to come back to Cat Stadium twice.
Yeah.
This Friday and then the last week of the season. So I feel like PSJ Memorial with the win over North is looking good.
Yeah. Now the other North is Edinburgh North. And
At Weslaco.
yeah, they pulled away at the end in that Edinburgh game.
Yeah, they did.
But it was a very close game. They're going to be playing against a well-rested Weslaco team. Had a bye last week.
Yeah, and a Weslaco team that's been looking at that defense and seeing what they can do and what they can't do. I'm talking about the Edinburgh North defense. They've got some sophomores of note. The Sebastian Bulos had a great game, number 50, the defensive tackle. He's an up-and-comer. I mentioned him last week. He had the best game of the year I think he's had. He was all over the place.
Here's what I want to see in that game. Weslaco's got that big defensive end. I don't know if you remember his name.
Who, Rene Pettis?
Yeah.
The big kid,
The big
72,
kid.
yeah. Tackle.
Now, Whitesides has been running a lot of stuff on the outside. I want to see what happens when he pinches the outside. So
Well-
you're going to force everything back in. Now, and that's where I want to see if Whitesides can still run between the tackles.
Well, I'll tell you what, he has not run as well inside the tackles this year because their offensive line is still kind of finding its sea legs. They got a new quarterback, by the way. They got a big sophomore, Christian Espinosa, who's a basketball player, is number 18, 7 out of 11 for 111 yards. Threw a touchdown to Michael Cantu, my guy. But it was really just a little flip to the right. Remember that play?
Yeah, he ran about 150 yards.
It's unbelievable. And you can always tell when Mike gets really crazy because his head starts going back and forth. He's looking who's there. He's really gunning for it. He went to the right. There were 3 guys that were ready to clean his clock. Absolutely. He did what you tell a kid not to do because you're going to get minus 15 and a fumble. But he made it happen. He pulled off the turnaround and back he went all around the other way. And then he got on the left sideline and cut back at the 15. Got a great block. I wish I knew who did it. I don't really know who made the block. Of course, I'll find out.
Watching the highlights.
Right.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is Michael Cantu is something good, man. That guy's made great plays this year. I think North has a shot over there at Weslaco. I feel like Weslaco is getting it together. It should be a very competitive game.
Oh, I think so too. I think this is going to be a really good game. I want to know. I want to see what Weslaco team comes out because if they can mix in that long pass that they've been able to do.
Yeah,
once in a
Brian Guerra, the guy. I'm
Yeah.
gonna mention him again.
Because you're going to pinch. I mean, Weslaco's offense is made to pinch those, bring up those safeties, and then you can really, with this quarterback Rodriguez, you can throw over the top.
Yeah, I think so too, man. Now, what about Weslaco East? I saw them against the Economides, and hopefully you read the story I wrote about Lupe Marone.
Great story.
I hope that people didn't think I was laying it on too thick, but I just had the feeling that he's kind of raised his game to another level. He's not just a 1,000-yard back, man. That guy, he's entering that top 40. He's entered the conversation to me.
Yeah.
The thing we've been having for the last 4 weeks, I really feel like he needs to be talked about in that respect.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
big.
look, he's only going to have this year of
is it.
6-day ball, but what he's done is amazing because they use him on defense when they need an extra.
He threw a touchdown the first play of the game, 80-yard touchdown to Rivas. Boy, the Burgett, that guy's a sly dog, man. There's your pass, he said right there.
Yeah, and I think and look, they don't pass a lot, but when they do, they're looking for big plays.
Think Alabama and OU in the 70s. 3 out of 5, 80 yards, 68-yard touchdown. All you need is one.
Yeah.
Because they're going to run the ball on you, and they can do it. I mean, they got a bunch of good backs. Even that little 20, Emilio, the blocking back, that little guy is tough.
No.
It looked like it should be the other way around. Marone should be the blocking back, and little Tames should be back there as the setback. But no, he'll cut your knees out, that 20. It's good.
And I like what they're doing with Rivas right now. They use that little step back where he looks like he's going to pitch the ball, and it's a QB keep all the way down. And I think Coach Burgett said that that's him.
Yeah, he's making calls. And look, not that many quarterbacks can make checks and calls at the line of scrimmage. What we used to call an audible, right? I don't want to get away talking about Weslaco East without mentioning some defensive kids. Ramiro Mendoza, number 8, big stocky kid. Apparently he's a weight room hero. He had a bunch of tackles. Man, I had him with 17. And then who's the other kid? Marco Arroyo, 64. You look at that kid and you're like, where's the beef, man? But you know what? He's a great football player. Every play he was moving. And he was moving. And the linemen were like, where is he? Where is he? And he was here. He was there. And then at the snap, he was off like a shot. That guy had 10 tackles the first half.
Yeah. And I think Weslaco East now is still. I think that they're probably they have a good chance of.
You think they're the favorite to win district? That's what he's saying.
I still do.
Well, there's 4 teams at 2-1.
Yeah.
PSJ Memorial, PSJ North, Weslaco East, and Edinburgh North. So out of those 4, you think that they? What about PSJ Memorial?
Oh, I think PSJ Memorial is telling us they're 3-1. I mean, they could be 3-1 after this.
Right.
Yeah, I
this
don't want to
guy,
jinx it.
he's already putting the Bobcats out.
Well, look, I mean, we don't do picks anymore, but
We're good. I'm glad we don't. Yeah, I hate the picks.
But you have to look at it realistically. They're probably going to be 3-1.
A prohibitive favorite, let's
Yes.
say that.
And so if they're 3-1, they've got to beat.
Well, let me look at it again and see if I said it right. Weslaco at home, and then they have North. Okay, so, all right.
Tough games. However, not impossible games at all. I think that they're very, you could pretty much flip a coin on those games.
With Bocanegra, Trevino, and Spears, they got enough playmakers, man, now, and they seem like the interior line's pretty solid. I think Memorial's a pretty good shot, too. So that district, nothing is settled. This week will be good. We're looking at the 7th of November, because that's when Weslaco plays Weslaco East. I think a lot of things are going to be on the line for that.
Yeah.
Well,
Tobacco Bowl.
Yeah, the Tinaco Bowl. That's right. What Mike says. Well, that's the 6A picture. We started with the down south 32-6A. In a minute, we're going to come back and talk about the game that was voted as we noted. The most popular or the best rivalry in Rio Grande Valley High School football. 28% picked Ed Couch and Mercedes, and we're about to come back and tell you why.